Design needs architecture. Many times we talk about design and architecture as two independent disciplines. This is not true. Rather, they have to connect well. If you design a clay model of a car, architecture follows right behind to make sure that your design is feasible, efficient, and scalable, to say the least. Let me walk you through what I call red button design. Imagine that you design a red button. While the red button may look simple enough to design, as a designer, you have to truly understand the context in which it operates. Say you've been asked to design an emergency button for a nuclear reactor. Most of the people in the world associate red with danger or an emergency. So your button should be red and not purple, or God forbid, green. But your job is not done yet. You have to answer many more questions. Questions like, where should the red button be placed in the first place? Or, what would the person who presses the red button have to do? Run or wait till help arrives? We also need to figure out what happens after the red button is pressed. The sequence of what happens in a nuclear reactor could be that loud alarms are triggered, lights start flashing, sprinklers switch on, active nuclear rods are lowered into the denuclearizing liquid to contain the radiation, leaders are notified, and so on. The stuff that happens after the button is pressed is critical and has to be architected to react properly to the button. Architects will have to detail everything that needs to happen, identify dependencies, run simulations to understand and refine the steps so that engineers can orchestrate the mechanics of the shutdown. In this case, design alone is not sufficient. Here's a different example of red button design. Imagine that a world leader of a nuclear-capable country wants you to design a red button for him or her to trigger a nuclear launch. Well, designing the red button is easy, but what happens when that powerful person presses it? You might not want to actually launch the nuclear missiles right away. Maybe it's best for the button to send a message or messages to other important people and then link everybody through a secure communication channel so that a single person does not have to make this world-ending decision. Here too, architecture is important because there's a sequence of events that have to be triggered. And while it's possible to launch missiles, you don't want to make that too easy to do. In many cities, traffic lights and cross lights are automatically controlled based on the density of traffic and people. Yet, you'll find that many crosswalks have buttons for pedestrians to press. They're not really connected to anything and therefore don't do anything. They exist only to make you happy with the feeling that you have some kind of a control over when the light comes on. Designers have to think about the user experience as well, and this is a great example of putting a button that does nothing but serves to give a sense of control for the person who's crossing the street. Steve Jobs is said to have famously questioned the need for a power button on the iPhone. After all, why would we need a button, he argued. It should be so intuitive that when you put the phone down, it should shut off, and when you pick it up, it turns on. Then you won't even have to look for a power button. In this case, the red button design is actually no button at all. Designers need to understand the context in which their design operates, and they have to work with architects to figure out what happens after the interaction. Design cannot exist without the supporting architecture. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you want my help in creating remarkable customer experiences through design, architecture, and AI, send me an email. Thanks for watching.